Welcome to Impolite MDG.
Where we're going to talk about Magic the Gathering.
And we're definitely not going to be nice about it right now.
I'm Chris. I don't have a legendary name right now.
Yeah, and I'm Dave. Let's get on with this shit. All right. The Rules Committee banned Golos. We're going to talk about it. To start off, we're going to read the statement from the Rules Committee about it.
Yeah, definitely.
Golos Tireless Pilgrim is a much-discussed card that is both popular to play and unpopular to play against. There are many problems with the card, but the greatest is that in the low to middle tiers where we focus the ban list, Golos is simply a better choice of leader for all but the most commander-centric decks.
Its presence crushes the kind of diversity in commander choice which we want to promote. You can drop in Golos and a few 5-color lands into a random deck and get all the ramp and card advantage you would ever want from a commander. But no worries about your mana base. Golos' ability effectively reduces the commander attacks to 1, and once you hit 7 mana, with Golos assuring that you have Wooburg and helping you get there quickly, you don't need to do anything for the rest of the game except cast free spells, something we always want to be careful about.
We've talked to the folks at Studio X, and they understand the problem created by generically powerful 5-color commanders that don't have Wooburg in their mana cost. We don't expect similar cards to come from them in the future, so a surgical strike now makes sense. We understand that many players love Golos, so we don't take this action lightly. In the end, the health of the format is our primary concern, and we find Golos unhealthy. While Kenrith the Returned King is a similarly flexible and popular commander for good stuff 5-color decks, we see it as a clear step down from Golos.
We're going to do our own statements here. We're not going to go too much into detail about the ban, why it happened. You've heard these arguments before. I'm very much on the side of Mitch from Commander Quarters and Josh from the Command Zone on this. I think it was a bad ban. I think it's been one of the hardest bans for me to come to terms with, as I'm a huge proponent for the generically good commanders. They bring a lot of good to the format, making it easy for new players to build decks and explore color combinations they would never normally try. When ban day happened, I initially kind of thought it was a joke of some sort. Throughout that day, I kind of started coming to terms with it. I realized that Golos did, in fact, kind of do things better than most commanders. It takes 3 to 5 cards to kind of replace him in your deck if you want something like him, and that's a lot of power. However, because he's so generically good, I do think he shouldn't have been banned. I think he should have been kept around so players can start to learn what 5-color decks are. They can expand. There's so many decks now left without a commander because of this, and I honestly think the Rules Committee fucked up here.
Yeah, so me and Chris, we're not going to agree on this, and that's okay, because I like the fact that Chris and I don't agree on everything. That's going to create a more interesting scenario between us as co-hosts. For me, I'm actually okay with the banning because I really, really did not like Golos. I'm okay with it because I feel like things like Golos, Hole Breacher, Leovold, an opposition agent, they push the format in a place that we really don't want to go, which is super overly competitive, easy, just combo-y style, deck goes burr type of format. That's not what Commander is. For me, Magic is about action and reaction. Lightning Bolt, counterspell. And to me, Golos cuts against that because he's super hard to answer. His ETB ability is hard to answer. When you activate him, you go to try and kill it. They can just activate him. He's hard to answer. And so he's just super degenerate to play against because you just sit there and watch a player ramp out a ton of mana, get him out super early, and then just sit there and just free cast stuff while you have no recourse because the type of effects that can stop Golos from doing that aren't ubiquitous enough in Magic. I'm very much okay with the banning of Golos. I'm glad to see him gone because I never liked him in the first place. However, the one thing I do agree with a lot of people is the general sentiment that the Rules Committee didn't announce this very well. They didn't give the community any time to prepare by saying, hey, a week from now we're going to be banning a commander, and then letting everybody speculate, hey, this is what's going to happen. Oh, it might be Turgid, it might be Golos, it might be
Tulane, yeah.
Tulane, yeah, it could be Tulane, Corvold, we could all sit here and speculate, and then sure, a lot of people might come up, oh yeah, Turgid is the problem, because yeah, Turgid is a pretty degenerate deck. I would know, I have one. But at least when it landed on Golos, we weren't completely blindsided. All right, it's Golos. Okay, this is why. That makes some sense. And then it's not just out of left field like what happened to Chris, where he just thought it was a joke and then he had to come to terms with it. I don't like this shock and awe style of ruling. And I think the Rules Committee needs to be very careful here because they sit atop a throne of sand. And if they shift too much, they're going to find that their empire crumbles because people will just get tired of it and say, screw you, we're just not going to follow your ban list anymore. People might say, hey, look, WotC needs to take over the format and control it. And that comes with its own issues, but at least then there's a little bit more accountability than unilateral decisions from an oligarchy. And we have just no input on what happens or, they just make their decisions and just screw the rest of us.
Yeah, this kind of leads to like some of the arguments they made in the statement there. The thing about commander tax is super disingenuous. It's dishonest. We have plenty of commanders in the format that don't have commander tax on them. We have Derevi, who for one generic and banned can just be dropped right out of the command zone. Hogak in the graveyard, as long as there's no way to exile him, he comes back. Yuriko.
Yeah, I was just about to say Yuriko, and then, as a Yuriko player, I never play Commander Tax. It's like, oh, you killed my Yuriko? All right, she's dead. I'm just going to ninjutsu her back in.
It's also the argument about color fixing. 5-color decks have plenty of ways to color fix. In fact, my Golos deck, before it got banned, the only color fixing it didn't run was Chromatic Worry. There are so many ways to ram nowadays. These aren't good arguments to ban a commander. There are better arguments they could have made. They could have been honest with us and say, yeah, we don't like it. It's too strong.
Well, I just made a better argument for banning Golos. He's hard to interact against. Your spells are basically, they just blank against the Golos deck. He's going to ETB, and the land's going to go off. They're going to get that land. All right, that's a permanent piece of ramp that they just got. If you try to kill Golos with a kill spell, if they have the mana up, they're still going to activate it. They're still going to get those 3 cards before Golos is dead. And guess what? Golos decks run so much ramp to try and power them out as early as possible. And with the one land, they are less affected. The fact that it does minimize the commander tax is relevant, but it's not like there are no commanders that skirt around the commander tax. You're right. That's a little bit disingenuous.
We gave 3 good examples. There's actually a 4th good example with Exodus, Auric Overlord, and the Awaken the Blood Avatar half.
Yeah, I think the Rules Committee needs to understand that WotC is basically doing everything they can to circumvent the Rules Committee's own actual rules for the format.
Yeah, Grist, Hunger Tide, yeah.
Yeah, they're doing everything they can to just all right, screw these rules. This is our fucking game. You'll play it how we tell you to. I don't exactly like that, but hey, we can't stop them from printing cards.
I agree. I think honestly though, this is ultimately the worst thing that could have happened. I'm a hockey fan. I grew up watching hockey. I wasn't alive for the Wayne Gretzky trade from the Edmonton Oilers to the Los Angeles Kings, but even today, everyone knows about that trade. They know what it meant to the game. It was this warning that if this great player could get traded away from his original team to a team that had no business taking him, anybody in the league could get traded. This is kind of a warning that, hey, any commander can get banned now. It doesn't matter how much you like it. Be careful investing in it, because the average Golos deck, as Mitch pointed out from the command zone, is about $1,000. That's a huge investment to lose when you lose your commander, especially if you design that deck around that commander.
I don't like pricing in, the value of commanders because that's super hard to do and it's not very accurate because you're just using metadata from EDH Rec and whatnot. Not everybody's going to have $1,000 Golos deck. Not everybody has $1,000 worth of cards. But it is a good argument. It's a round number to work off of. The thing is, though, for me personally, it's not so much that, hey, any commander can be banned, be careful. I'm actually okay with that mentality or that sentiment because I don't like the idea of too big to fail. That didn't work for the American economy in 2008, and it's not going to work for Commander. I don't mind the fact that any commander could be banned. I mind that they didn't give us any kind of warning or way to actually chime in like, hey, how do people actually feel? The other thing I mind is the lack of transparency. How did you come to this conclusion? Who did you talk to? Did you look at your Twitter feed for the day and talk to your yes men and your Discord server? Like they aren't showing me their homework. And that's where I have a problem with this, because it's like, oh, we just decided to do this because we're the rules committee. And like, well, why should we listen to you? And when you give us an explanation of why you do it, it feels very disingenuous.
We've seen cards in the format get a 3 to 6 month window to prove they're not problematic.
Yeah.
Golos had that 3 to 6 month window. All Breacher had that 3 to 6 month window. Golos passed that time frame. Why are we banning a card 2 years after the fact, unless something more problematic came into the format that complicated things with that card? Sure, the World Tree came into the format, but we already had other ways to color fix. Like, that shouldn't have been, like, a deciding factor here. Sure, okay, Golos can go fetch it. Okay, but I can play crop rotation to go fetch it, too. I can run other ways to get that card into my hand.
Yeah.
I mean, Expedition Map's been in the format since Zendikar. It's not really that big of a deal. People will always find the best way to build their deck to be the most consistent possible.
Exactly. And it's stupid because, like, yeah, I agree with the sentiment of ban Golos just because he's hard to answer and he does too much for too little. He shouldn't be 5 generic mana that you can power him out on turn 2. Literally, green land, mana crypt, ramp spell. Pick one. You've got 3 mana.
Burgeoning.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Exploration.
All right. Then turn 2, play a land. Turn 2, play a land, play Golos. He goes and gets you another land. Pass the turn. By turn 3, you have the mana to activate him.
Yeah.
You know what most people are doing on turn 3? They've played a fucking mana rock.
Maybe their commander, depending. But yeah.
It's too much. It's too much too quick. And we've seen this in other formats. Like when Gitaxian Probe got banned by Wizards. They banned it because it just did too much for nothing. 2 life? All right, I'll pay 2 life to Gitaxian Probe you. And then that's why they banned it. So there are correlations here that I can make. I can make a solid argument for why Golos needed to be banned. However, the rules committee didn't do that. And they did it in a really shitty fucking way.
Yeah.
So that's all I've really got to say about the whole ordeal.
Yeah, basically my closing thoughts here are they should have been transparent from the start. We shouldn't be having this conversation about getting blindsided by a ban. And there's no reason for a card like Golos to be banned 2 years later. If he was really that big of a problem, he should have been taken care of later. I don't think we'd be having this conversation if Golos was, I don't know, green and 4 colorless. I mean, I'm sure someone will say, oh yeah, no, green is too easy. Yeah, fine. Green is too easy to play.
Yeah.
But he's in 5 color. He has access to green anyways.
Yeah, exactly. To me, it's the 5 generic that really pushes it over the top.
I don't think there's really much more to say here. I'm Chris.
Yeah, and I'm Dave, and we're...
Fuck the rules committee right now.
All right, bye.
Bye.